My landlord framed me for $1 million identity scam, so I hacked his empire and took him down. Also, please subscribe to this channel for more stories. It started with a key under the mat and a lease that looked too good to be true. The apartment was on the edge of downtown Portland, high ceilings, updated appliances, and rent way below the market average. I had just gotten out of a draining 3-year relationship and needed a clean break from everything familiar. So when I found the listing on an obscure classified site and met Gregory Lorne, the landlord, it felt like fate tossing me a lifeline. Greg was in his 50s, tall and wiry with thin silver hair and a calm demeanor that seemed just a little too perfect. His eyes were always scanning, like they were gathering data, not watching you. The first thing I noticed when I shook his hand was the faint, persistent smell of bleach on his skin. "I like helping people rebuild," he said when I mentioned I had gone through a tough year. "Fresh starts are my specialty. People just need someone to believe in them sometimes." Back then, I actually thought he was kind. Back then, I actually thanked him. He handed me the lease, keys, and what he called a welcome packet, which included instructions for connecting to his Wi-Fi, a laminated list of do's and don'ts, and a polite reminder to always keep the unit visitor-ready in case of random inspections. I should have known. The first few weeks were uneventful. I worked from home as a freelance graphic designer, rarely left the apartment, and kept to myself. But soon, things started getting weird. Every Friday, like clockwork, boxes started appearing at my door. They were delivered by various carriers, FedEx, UPS, DHL, addressed to names I did not recognize. At first, I assumed they belonged to neighbors. Maybe a mix-up. But when I asked around the building, nobody claimed them. Then the letters came. Thick envelopes full of bank statements, IRS notices, pre-approved credit cards, all sent to my address, all in different names. Names like Clara Vasquez, Marcus M., or Troy Donnelly. None of them were me. I called Greg. He brushed it off. "Oh, that's probably just leftovers from the last tenant. He was messy, never forwarded his mail. I will swing by and take care of it." He came by, grabbed the letters and packages, and left with that same polite smile. But they did not stop. They multiplied. Then came the phone calls. Random banks calling to confirm applications under names I did not recognize. One woman from a loan company asked if I was Veronica Mendez. Another call was from a collections agency for a debt I had never incurred. I started panicking. And then it got worse. One morning I opened my front door to head to the store, and suddenly I was face to face with a swarm of police, 2 cruisers, 3 plainclothes officers, and a detective holding a search warrant with my name on it. They pushed past me without ceremony. They confiscated my laptop, phone, printer, even a box of old receipts. They bagged everything like I was a criminal mastermind. I stood there barefoot and stunned as the detective read off charges I barely understood. Multiple counts of identity fraud, cybercrime, theft by deception. "What? No, there's been a mistake," I cried. "I do not even use public Wi-Fi. I am barely online unless I am working." The detective's eyes were tired. "Tell it to your lawyer." I spent 2 days in county jail. 2 humiliating days of cold meals, fluorescent lights, and murmured judgments from people who assumed I was guilty. My friend Marcus bailed me out. I was shaking as I walked out of the holding facility in borrowed clothes. My life had been torn to pieces. Then came the arraignment. The prosecution painted me as a digital con artist who had exploited stolen identities to rack up nearly $1 million in fraudulent charges. They claimed the digital footprint traced back to my apartment IP, that multiple accounts were created from my devices. They even had screenshots of account dashboards, screenshots I'd never seen in my life. For a brief, terrifying moment, I actually considered pleading guilty, just to make it stop. But then, like a whisper in a storm, I remembered something. Greg. Greg had installed the Wi-Fi himself. He told me it was included in the lease and insisted on setting it up personally. Said it was business-grade speeds and that he'd take care of the bills. I had never once touched the router. Never saw a login screen. I just used his network. GLNet. I dug through my old messages and found it. "Just stay connected to GLNet. I'll manage the back end. Easier that way." Easier for who? I told Marcus everything. He's a paranoid tech genius with a minor god complex. He raised an eyebrow. "He installed the router and insisted you stay on his network? You let him connect your printer?" I nodded slowly. Marcus sat up straighter. "He cloned your traffic. Every packet. He probably mirrored your logins, spoofed your IP, and redirected stolen applications through your router." I was speechless. Greg had used me. I wasn't just collateral. I was the face of his entire operation. We started digging. Marcus used forensic tools to search the remnants of my laptop and found something strange. Encrypted pings to an unknown IP at 3 a.m. every night, all routed through the GilaNet network. He said, "I think your router is forwarding logs somewhere." And guess what? It's password protected with literally password 123. He cracked into the admin panel. What we found made me sick. Greg had created a hidden partition on the router, a digital basement full of incriminating files. Spreadsheets of stolen names, addresses, social security numbers, application forms, even audio recordings of Greg coaching people through identity theft over the phone. He was running a fraud empire. And I was the shell. We found footage, security cam snippets from what looked like a private office. Greg sitting behind a desk, speaking into a headset, smiling as he clicked through fake loan applications. I needed more, so I went hunting. From the arrest warrant, I found the name of one of the supposed victims, Sandra H. She lived in Nebraska. I found her on Facebook. I messaged her with one question. "Do you know Gregory Lorne?" Her reply came fast. "Yes. He told me he was a financial advisor. Said he'd help me rebuild my credit. He asked for all my documents. Then he disappeared. I filed a report, but nothing ever came of it. She sent me screenshots, emails, even a photo of them at a restaurant. Greg in a nice suit, leaning in like he cared. My landlord. That's when we got serious. I took it all to a real lawyer this time. A defense attorney with a background in tech fraud. He couldn't believe what we had. "This isn't just misdirection," he said. "This is premeditated digital laundering. He used your life as camouflage." We went to the FBI. They weren't surprised. Apparently, Greg's name had popped up in several other fraud investigations, but he always slipped through with clean records and clever alibis. What we had was the missing link, the infrastructure. The mirrored drive on the router, the network traffic, the voices, and my story. They opened a full-scale investigation. Within weeks, they had a warrant. When they raided Greg's office, a luxury co-working space he rented under an alias, they found dozens of burner phones, multiple fake IDs, SIM cards, prepaid cards, and files matching the names on those packages that came to my door. He tried to run. Made it as far as Idaho before he was pulled over by state police. The trial came a year later. I had to testify. I had nightmares for weeks leading up to it, afraid that somehow it would all fall apart. That he'd outsmart everyone again. He sat across from me in the courtroom, clean-shaven and calm, like nothing touched him. But the evidence spoke louder than he ever could. The jury deliberated for just 4 hours. Guilty. On all counts. 17 years in federal prison. No parole for the first 12. He looked at me once as they read the sentence. Just once. His eyes were empty. No rage, no remorse. Just a kind of hollow surprise, like he couldn't believe I had clawed my way out of the hole he dug for me. I smiled. Not out of cruelty, but out of survival. It was the kind of smile that says, "You thought I was weak. You thought I was disposable. But I turned your trap into a hammer." 2 years later, I'm in a better place, mentally, emotionally, physically. I host a podcast now about cybercrime, tenant scams, and the hidden dangers of digital life. We've grown to over 100,000 subscribers. People listen. They learn. They fight back. Greg tried to wear me like a mask. Tried to bury me beneath his crimes. But I didn't just escape. I shut the door behind him and made sure the lock echoed like thunder.